Today we are pleased to introduce Lori Bessler as part of the Wisconsin Historical Museum's History Sandwiched In lecture series. Lori Bessler has worked at the Wisconsin Historical Society Library Archives since 1988. She is a reference librarian and outreach coordinator. Lori has lectured throughout Wisconsin and the Midwest on genealogical topics for over 25 years and has been researching family history for over 35 years. She specializes in breaking down brick walls and finding hard-to-find resources. Here today to share some of the many resources available to researchers at the Wisconsin Historical Society, please join me in welcoming Lori Bessler.
Thank you. It is kind of an interesting day out there weather-wise. As Katie has mentioned, I've been with the Society a long time, and I have talked about our collections many, many times, but I always enjoy telling more about it. There's such depth to the Historical Society collections, and they are just hiding on the other side of State Street for you. So the collection has over 4 million items in it, most of which has to do with North American history. And so we cover all of the United States and all the provinces of Canada. And so it's a wonderful collection, no matter where your ancestry is coming from or going to in North America. We do have materials for you. So in the library, we have mostly published materials. In the archives, there are more original documents. We are the state archives for the state of Wisconsin. And so we have a lot of materials that have come from courthouses and other governmental agencies, as well as private collections that people have donated or that we've obtained in various ways. The library also has very accessible hours. We have our hours posted on our website. I'm going to give you a review of our website in a few minutes. The collections for both the library and the archives are now in one catalog. If you used our different catalogs a couple years ago, that changed all about a year ago, in May I think it was. And so everything was deposited into one catalog, which makes it a lot easier in a lot of ways, but change is always interesting too. So having the archivists and the librarians help you through this is really core, and we try to make ourselves pretty accessible in a lot of different ways. You can contact us by email, by phone, and then also just visiting. I do a lot of phone consultations with people from around the country who have connections to Wisconsin. And people who are in this area who are coming in, or in anywhere in Wisconsin, traveling to see us, I have consultations with them as well to help them identify the paper trail that will shed more light into the family history that they're researching. On site in the library and in the archives, we have technology that can help you capture what you do find. So if you come to do research at the Society, then you're going to want to bring a flash drive. You can bring laptops. People have brought hand scanners that can be used in the library, not necessarily in the archives. That is a more secure area in the archives because they're dealing with a lot of original documents. You have printers and scanners so that if you come in and you have a book and there's a portion of the book you want to scan to your flash drive, it's awesome. It makes it a lot easier to capture that information and then take it home and read it when you get home. If you do make prints, there's a 25-cent print fee. There's 10 cents off of other things. So all of those details are found on our website, and then also calling before you come is a good idea as well. All right, let me show you a couple things on our website. Our website is wisconsinhistory.org. And if you look lower down on the screen, you have all these different tabs. You have Research Your Family History, Discover Your Community History, Explore Our Collections, Teach and Learn Wisconsin History, Visit Wisconsin Museums and Historic Sites, and Preserve Your Homes and Properties. I'm going to cover a couple of these different buttons. Research Your Family History right away comes up with a search box. And I really encourage you to take a moment, breathe, before you start putting names in. It's always important, especially with sites like this, and very much especially with Family Search and Ancestry, that you understand what you're actually looking at. What does that index include? So down here it says browse all items in family history resources. It gives you a list of all the different types of items that are being, all the different types of collections that are being indexed in this. And so each one of these have criteria to them, all right? They have limitations. They have a wonderful amount of information, but they definitely have limitations. An example, the birth index record. What you find are it's an index to birth records we happen to have before October 1st, 1907. They're only records that were sent on to the state level record, or to state vital records office. And so it is possible that the county register of deeds office has something that's not at the state level. That's where reference librarians and reference archivists can help you. If you went into this index and you did not find something, then it's really important for you to contact us and say, why didn't I find something? What else can I find this information on? And we can explain the details of the paper trail that exists out there for your ancestors, depending on the criteria of where are they from, what time era are they from, that kind of information. And so when you look at that index, I'm going to go back here, all these different indexes or collections in the index, they all have criteria to them. Take your time to understand each part. If you do find an entry in the records, I'll have this one example here. What you can do is choose to go online and actually buy it from us, or if you live in the area, write down the information it tells you in the reference details, make a print of this, screenshot of it, whatever it is, and then when you come to the society, you can make a print of this for 25 cents. So there's those kinds of deals, there's that kind of research technique or tactics that we can help you with as you call us ahead of time, or when you come in, set up a time that you can talk to one of us and we can explain these kinds of details. When you do have a bunch of hits on the list, on the right, or the left side rather, you can actually start to filter down to a certain era or down to a certain location. So if I know someone was born in Brown County in 1842 or 1840s, 1800 to 1900, I can choose 1840 to 49. So if you used to use the index before we had changed it, this is kind of new. You should be able to filter down by location and by year and be able to see exactly what there is. This is especially important when you're dealing, and everybody deals with it, name changes and misinterpretation of names. Someone else is writing your name most of the time in public records. Someone else is interpreting what you're saying and spelling it the way they want it spelled, or they're going to spell it. And so what you can do when you get the amount of hits is you can then sort it alphabetically. So this index has become more accessible, more usable to a lot of people in that way. I'm going to go back a couple pages here. Another item in here is video tutorials. The information I just gave you is all in different tutorials here. So all you have to do is, this one's 6 minutes. Most of them are less than 6 minutes. This is how, that was telling you how to learn about the collections included in the index. So I explained how you find that list. Then the second one is learn how to find a name in our index from the home page, which is the very first page. They have a search box at the top, and that explains how you can manipulate your search that way. Then how to find a name through our Research Your Family History page specifically, and most importantly, how to search the index without a name, which is really key. I encourage you to try that kind of strategy on places like Ancestry as well. Try a search without a name. Try putting in a location and a date. It gives you a bigger snapshot of that location and where your ancestries were. So it's all of those are different, like I said, research strategies that are important to take. This whole thing we call genealogy and family history, it's a journey. It's not a quick trip. No matter what Ancestry says, it's not a quick trip. You don't want it to be. You want to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's what our staff helps you to do. Believe me, I meet with so many different people. I'm like, bring your brick walls. I can't wait to take them on. There's got to be something else. I've only gotten stumped once. And the gentleman had looked at all kinds of different materials. I'm like, oh, what about this? What about that? So there's always another level to go to. Finally, with that gentleman, it was, you know what? You can add some more general history to your family. you can look at where they're from and what was going on at the time that they were living in that location. That may shed some light. They lived in this one town, a tornado came through at the time they were living there. There's a story. I don't know how that missed the family oral history, but somehow it did. And so it's important to look for how deep you can go, and that's, again, how we can help you with that. Let's go back here again. For those who are living far away, another resource we have is an obituary search service that we have. So if you're unable to come here to do the research, then you can go on this website and actually order an obituary search. Now, we took our lead from the Minnesota Historical Society, which is a great institution as well. They do an obituary search as well. We actually do 2 newspapers when we search. Our newspaper collection is second only to the Library of Congress. Only to the Library of Congress. That's an amazing collection. And what that means is that we have any Wisconsin newspapers that have ever been uncovered, we have copies of, most of which is on microfilm. And then also, if you can't get to here, then our microfilm loans to other libraries internationally. And so there's that accessibility to materials is also really core to our services. So if people do need us to find the obituary, then they can put that order in at our website. Okay, other parts of this site. A big part is access to our online catalog, okay? This is really important. This is the list of what we have, which is really important when you're trying to do research. You want to know, okay, what is there first? And you can do all of this searching from home before you come. All right, so here's an example. If you're looking to see if we have any family histories that have been published, I'm not talking about the trees that are on Ancestry. I mean, people have written a book of some sort, and we have gathered that book, or it's been donated to us. So what you would do is you would put in a name, last name Frink, and then use 2 different words when you're searching, okay? Do the surname and the word genealogy. You can see I got 5 hits. Change that to family. Oops. And you see I got 10 hits. So when you're using an online catalog, that's one additional strategy, is make sure you're trying different terms, okay? Try the surnames of people who married into the family. There's a family tree, or a family genealogy that we link into, and it's called for the Starr family, S-T-A-R-R. There's one little paragraph about the fact that the Cooks went into the Starr family, and it gave a maiden name of a woman. I could not find that maiden name anywhere else. It must have been published around the time that my ancestors were living. They provided that information, and it was not located anywhere else that I found in the public record. So that's important to look at. Another item, when you pull up an item, many of our family histories are still under copyright, or assumed to be under copyright, published since 1923. So we have a lot of people, because we had a contract with Google, a lot of our books have been digitized. Well, they pull it up in Google and we get emails and phone calls saying, I'd like to buy that book from you. I'm like, no, we're a library, we don't sell books. And we keep the books so that you can access them later, you know. And so one of the things is that if it is a digital book, a couple of points, okay? One is that FamilySearch.org and Google.com are 2 of the websites that I go to most frequently to check if a book has been digitized. FamilySearch.org is the website for the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. And so their website is huge, and I will give you a little bit of a survey on that site as well. But what you would do in this case, I want the Weissman Genealogy and Biography. You can see I have the call number to the book in the stacks. If I look lower down, it gives me access to the digital copy that is at HathiTrust. And that's a combination of a lot of different campuses who have gone through this digitizing project and made their books accessible through this HathiTrust organization. And so that gives me free access to the full book. And I'll tell you what I've done is I have tried to find all of the books that any branch of my family has been listed in that is out there digitized. I save the whole book and have my own digital library in my external hard drive and in my hard drive of my laptop. As well, now I'm looking in the cloud too. So because there's so many ways to save that information. And there's strategies with saving information too that, I could go on all day on all of these topics, that's for sure. Okay, so again, look for those items that are in that online catalog. See if there's a digital copy you can just go into and download. All right, down here, webinars and workshops. Every fall and spring, we hold workshops, all-day workshops that are held at usually Memorial Library on the first floor. And so we bring guest lecturers who can provide us programming on a variety of different topics having to do with genealogy. In the spring, we had one on DNA. In the fall we did. In the spring this year, we will be holding one again. And it has been a very well-received program. It's all day. It talks about, and I would show you on the site, but it's not in the store quite yet. So, and I imagine we will be holding it numerous times because of the topic being so hot in genealogy, DNA research. And so we will be holding that on April 16th. We will hold or have information on this page about how to register for that. Again, all day, we feed you lunch. It's $30 for the day, 10% off if you're a member of Wisconsin Historical Society or Wisconsin State Genealogical Society. Okay, so there's that deal as well. Other topics for this spring, we'll have Polish, we'll have Norwegian, and we'll have Irish. So you come in, you absorb all that information without the distractions. If you prefer to take things like webinars, we do hold some webinars on this website as well that are free. So you can see the different topics. Genealogy, where do I begin? Notice right next to each and every event, we have a handout you should print out. It's definitely important to print that out before you watch the webinar because there's a lot of detail on that handout so you're not furiously writing, okay? So that's important to take as well. So each one of these, you just click on the event and it'll take you to a page where you register your first and last name and your email address, and then you open up and watch the webinar. You can watch it as many times as you like. The other ones listed here, preparing for a trip to the Wisconsin Historical Society. If you want to bring a group, by the way, you do want to contact us. We have different arrangements that we can make and make sure that we have enough staff on hand for a group to be able to come. Ancestry.com, what to expect and what not to expect. And the very next one below, FamilySearch.org. Those are the two top websites that people go to, at least in the beginning, for genealogy. I'm going to give you a short preview of both of those, but those two webinars really go into great depth for you to understand those two websites. The Wisconsin Historical Society website for genealogy, I'm just touching upon a few points. This one it's a whole hour. Each one of these are about an hour long. And then another new one that we put out at the end of 2015, Maps for Genealogy and Local History. And what that is Lee Grady, one of our archivists, reference archivists, had put together a whole presentation on how people can use a variety of different maps, Sanborn maps, land ownership maps, other types of records that have to do with the property that our ancestors owned, and how to use maps to locate different hard-to-find towns that have changed in time, and that kind of thing. And again, those video tutorials are for how to use that index that's on our website. Another aspect of our collection is our area research centers system. And basically what this means is that we have locations across the state at the stars here that cover the counties that are in that same color. All right, and what you find are that the archives collection, which is on the 4th floor of our building, had taken a lot of the different kinds of records that are more locally used into these certain area research centers. So if I'm researching Chippewa County, I'm going to be contacting the Area Research Center that is located at the UW Eau Claire campus. So again, throughout all of these different strategies I'm kind of covering a little bit of, they all have depth to them, all right? So an example of that, if someone is looking for naturalization records, I, as a reference librarian, can tell you that Family Search has digitized a bunch of those on their website and where you would find that on their website. I could also tell you the stuff that didn't get digitized could be on microfilm that they filmed. It could also be at the Area Research Center. The archivists who are at the area research centers, they know their collections just as well as we know our collections up at 816 State Street. And so using them as a staff to understand more about these documents that are not always really easy to understand, that's really important. And they're very accessible, the staff members are. And so it's important to understand that's another strategy. I worry a lot because Ancestry especially comes off with their commercials saying just put in a name and you can tell you all the stories. There's so much more to research. And again, the collections are phenomenal, but don't forget that the staff at the Historical Society is so invaluable. We have so many people who can help you in so many ways to understand the records and the paper trail. So that's important to understand as well. I want to cover a little bit about each of the two big sites. Ancestry.com, massive amount of digital collections, okay? An ability to put your tree online and find more cousins. DNA testing. There's a lot to Ancestry, and that's good. You want to take your time to understand. I want to point out one specific thing you want to do on Ancestry, and that is to go into the search box and look at the card catalog. It's just as you would go into our online catalog to find out what we have. Go into the Ancestry's card catalog, which is not really a card catalog, but go into their listing and examine what they actually own. And one way to do that, too, is not just through this massive list. You can identify and filter it by era and also by location. If I'm researching my ancestors who came from Connecticut, I would want to know exactly what they have. You can even go down to the certain county and find out more. Understand, many collections, not just on these websites, but also in our collection, are based out of a state designation versus a county designation. So it's important to look at both strategies there. When you're in our catalog, you would look under Wisconsin in history or Wisconsin in genealogy and see what kinds of materials come up. But then also do a second search and look under Dane County, Wisconsin history, Dane County, Wisconsin genealogy, and see what materials come up. Because the catalog is not going to know exactly what's in your head, it only knows what you're typing. All right? So it's important to understand that aspect of it. And so you're going through the whole list and identifying these different collections you didn't know existed. Understanding, of course, that Ancestry doesn't have everything for Litchfield County. All right? The other institutions to consider, local historical societies, county historical societies and county genealogical societies. Local public libraries could have a collection in there that you're not even realizing is there. Regional institutions like New England Historic Genealogical Society. The fact that Wisconsin Historical Society covers the United States and Canada. We have materials for Minnesota, Florida, Louisiana, a lot of Louisiana stuff. Oddly enough, I've been able to do a lot of my Louisiana research right up here. And so keep watching Ancestry for that kind of thing as well, understanding they have limits, no matter what they're saying. All right, FamilySearch.org is the other one. All right, and this is the one that's covered, or it's maintained by the Mormons, Latter-day Saints. A couple of points here. One is that this one has a lot more services and types of collections than you would assume. The top part, family tree. Caution is that when you put a tree on Ancestry, you can make it a private tree so no one finds you, no one can see what you have on there. Or you can make it a public tree and share everything, all right? On family tree, on this Family Search family tree, anybody can go in your tree and see it, and they can change information. So be very careful when you consider putting a tree on FamilySearch.org, okay? Memories, they have, just like Ancestry has, the ability to upload photos, even videos, and audio, okay? So if you have an audio recording of your grandmother or great-grandmother, then it might be worth posting that on your account on one of these sites to share it. It's also possible to put that on a cloud and invite specific family members to have access to it. There are definitely ways to maintain the access that you want to the materials you have collected. Okay, a lot of people, when they've been doing research a long time, feel like, you know what, I put all this together. I don't necessarily want everybody to have it for free. Me, I'm like, the more it's out there, the less often they're going to come back and ask me again for something. And so there are many, many ways to limit that. If you have questions about that, then definitely contact me, okay? I have this discussion with people all the time. Another thing with family history recently, with Ancestry, they own Family Tree Maker, okay? And Family Tree Maker is no longer supported by them. For the next year, until December of this year, I believe it is, they will only support, they're not selling Family Tree Maker anymore. Well, there was a lot of hubbub when this happened in November, December, about how that affects people using Family Tree Maker, Roots Magic, any of these software programs. A lot of people at that time at the higher level of education with genealogy, the national level, were saying you have to get used to the cloud. I think that there's a lot of room in here, a lot of wiggle room. I don't think it has to be a certain way that way. I personally am looking at this because I have been trying to aim more toward using Family Tree Maker and other programs. So again, if you have questions about that transition, definitely talk to me. There's a lot to be discussed. Under Family Search, I mentioned about Ancestry and that you have to go into Ancestry and look at their card catalog. This is how you do this on Family Search. If you go to the Search tab and go to Catalog, you can put in a location. It fills it in, and you choose which state we're dealing with. Don't put in the word county. It doesn't like that. I don't know why, but they don't like that. And then do a search. It tells you all the different types of records. Now, Family Search, Latter-day Saints have been collecting things for a very, very long time. And what I mean by things is actual images of courthouse documents, church documents, personal collections, anything that anybody would let them have access to, they filmed, and now they go right to digital. And so there's a massive amount of materials with them. When you do this search on Ancestry, you're looking for digital stuff, okay? When you look at this on Family Search, you're actually identifying collections that might be on microfilm, not digitized, that then you can borrow and have sent to the Family History Center local to you. That is us at the Wisconsin Historical Society. There is a Family History Center here at the Latter-day Saints Church as well on Regent, okay? It depends on how you look at it. They have better parking, we have better hours. So that's the variety of what you have to consider when you're going to get anything from here. And what you do is many times we're looking at, what's a good example? How about probate records? Probate records are done at the end of a person's life if they have any property that needs to be dispersed. Never assume an ancestor did not have a probate record. Never assume there's not a certain record for an ancestor, just in general. You always want to check and document that you did check, okay? So what you would do is when you find one of these entries, you would go down here and it would take you to the film number. Then as you sign in with their website, it'll take you to an ordering page. $7.50 for a reel. You can have that reel sent to Historical Society to scan the heck out of it and save everything you can. And then you have that for 8 weeks. It's a long time. It used to be 4 weeks and you had to send it back or renew it. Now it's a massive amount of time, and really they're very flexible about that. And so as fast as they are going with digitizing their materials, there's still a lot that is only on microfilm. And so it's important to know this option on their site. I mentioned how, if you wanted to look for a naturalization record, I could tell you that Family Search has this, okay, the digitized naturalization records. You now know how I found that out, okay? Basically, it's going into this list and look for these types of records. Always check Ancestry and Family Search for digital stuff. They are working furiously at digitizing materials. And so it's really good to take time to do that. And now you know how to. Again, a webinar on the site on how to use Ancestry, a full hour, and another one on Family Search. I believe it's well worth your time. So researching your family history. What I usually start people out with is the censuses. The census has been done in the United States since 1790, every 10 years to the present. And so what we have accessible to us is back to 1940 and backward. Okay? There's a federal law that does not allow us to see 1950 until 72 years after that census was done. all right? You can see a lot of other stuff out there, but not the federal census. So one of those little oddities. The censuses give you a good snapshot of the family over time. What's important is that you look at every family member's census, not just pick and choose which ones, because each one tells you another story, another fact in the story. People who are living with the family that you didn't realize back in 1910, the family had Aunt Ada living with them, and by 1920, she's gone. And so you have those different kinds of clues that are hiding in censuses. When someone says that I have a family member who came through New York, through one of the ports, any of them, and I don't know exactly what year they came. I'm like, oh, please, God, I hope they're living in 1900 to 1940, because those censuses ask you what year did you immigrate. It doesn't ask you what port, but it does ask you what year you immigrated. They also ask you if you're an alien, naturalized, or have filed your first papers. Many of those censuses will tell you that. I think it's 1910 or 1900, asks a woman, how many children have you born? How many are living? That's how you can identify, wow, I didn't realize she had 10 children. I thought she only had 7. And so that's more information that, okay, I have to go try and find those birth records I didn't even think I should be looking for. And so there's clues in those censuses. Make sure you read through the whole line. Ownership of property. They owned their house or it was mortgaged. You know, that kind of detail can really shed some light. 1930 census, I think, is the one, asks if they owned a radio, which is awesome. I love old radio shows. So it's kind of neat to then picture the family and seeing, oh, wow, my great-grandfather was like 10 years old at the time, and they had a radio. That would have been awesome. I wonder what shows were running at the time. So it really opens up more questions in a lot of ways, which is one of the things about genealogy. But it definitely sheds some more light on materials. As you go through, one of the things you're going to do is really make sure you're organized all the way through. Because when you come to talk to me or any of the reference librarians, you'll say, I'm looking for this, and I'll come right back with, what have you already found? Because I want to know if you already have the clues I need to help you get to the next step, we don't want to recreate the wheel, okay? So really documenting everything that you know. I don't want to make you feel like, don't you come in without that documentation. It's not that at all. It's just that you're going to get more out of this head than if you know more about what you actually already know. And a lot of that is starting with the stuff at home, okay? And with the family members who are at home. With your own memory, writing down all the information you know about the different family members is really key. I'm just learning about that in my 40s, and I'm about to turn 50. It's becoming even more important. So that's one thing, is that both my parents are gone. All my grandparents are gone. My older brother has become so much more important because he has so many stories to share and to write down. All of us do, okay? And that's the key. If you feel like you can't come down to do research because it's too far, you can't get down there, you still have a lot of research to do at home, and that is writing down your stories. Please write down your stories. That's really core. Has anyone written your story already? The trees on Ancestry, the trees on Family Search is great. But have they actually published a document or a book about your family? And again, I showed you how to look those up in the online catalog. Try it out. Do a full census check on everybody in the family. And most of those can be done on Ancestry.com. The library edition, which is at all of the public library branches in Madison and Dane County, I think. So check your local library and see if they have access to library edition. It doesn't have as much as the personal subscription, but it has the core stuff, like the censuses, the passenger lists, some vital records, although most of them are indexes. Checking for vital records. Again, very important. Something that many times when I'm answering the emails, it's, I'd like to find out when a person died in 1942. Their death record would probably tell you that. And the idea is that they've gone online so it says, and didn't find it, so it looks like there is none. It's not true. It's that most death records, birth and marriage records, are not digitized. No matter how much states like Missouri are digitizing, there's a lot of states that do not digitize those records for privacy reasons, of course. And so deathindexes.com is a great place to go first. And then if you don't find a listing for that state or for that county, then it is actually contacting the county courthouse, or like in Nebraska, you have to contact the state, I think it is for births and deaths, and the counties for the marriages. Each state has their own rules about this type of information. Again, asking us for help, we can help you identify that. Obituaries is the third type of record. So you've done a census check. You've actually done all the research at home as well. You've done a census check. Then you did vital records that you could do. And then the third, it would be obituaries. Many people skip over that step thinking, well, she was a widow. She died in 1872. They probably didn't write anything. You have to check, okay? It's important because there's been enough cases where I have helped someone and they've identified that material, that extra little clue, and yet it was a woman who died before 1900, you know? So you can't make any assumptions. How many people have watched Finding Your Roots, and Who Do You Think You Are? They do so many of these cases, and I'm just fascinated every time. I've been doing this research a very long time. And yes, every now and then I'm talking back to them saying, why didn't you check this? But most of the time, it is that they are showing you strategies. And certainly, Dr. Henry Louis Gates, he's telling you how to tell a story. It doesn't have to be that you have to follow their certain story, but listen to how he's telling the story. And so those episodes right now are happening, but you can actually find them on pbs.org as well. And so I look at them, I buy the seasons actually, so there's a lot to be found. The last point is, I think, one I've made throughout the whole presentation. You need to ask us for help, okay? We are there to be able to help you get to that next step. Whatever that step is for you, we can at least show you that next step for you. And you get to decide if you want to go that far. Again, I've only gotten stumped once. And even then it was, okay, then you have to go for the local history. You have to look at the general information around it. So, well, thank you very much.